From where I'm standing, he did exactly what was needed, delivered what was asked, no more, no less. People forget sometimes that this was a European tie at the absolute highest level. Every pass, every tackle, every decision under that kind of pressure matters. And considering all that, I thought he held his own. No, it wasn't a flawless performance, but he did well. Still, after the final whistle, emotions were running high, and rightly so. Junior came out after the game and was clearly frustrated. He pointed to one moment in particular, the referee's failure to award a penalty for a blatant shirt pull on Cyril Dazas. According to him, that moment changed everything. In his words, we are obviously disappointed, angry, probably because we could have played better. I think Bilbao for 90 minutes were better than us, but that doesn't take away from the penalty incident. Not at all. Now shifting away from the pitch and into the boardroom, we've got some major developments happening behind the scenes at Ibrox. This isn't just transfer rumors or managerial gossip. We're talking about the very ownership of Rangers. Football club changing hands. Breaking news coming through confirms that Andrew Kavanagh and the group known as 49ers Enterprises have sealed a route to secure a controlling 51% stake in the club. That's right, a full takeover is on the horizon, and it's happening fast. Kavanagh, an American healthcare mogul, has been working this deal in the background since back in October. It's been months of talks, negotiations with key shareholders, all aiming to usher in a new era. These conversations also include high-level figures like the 49ers' own Parag Marathe, and now everything's finally approaching the finish line. The legal side of things is being handled as we speak, and while the official announcement may still be weeks away, the path is clear. Rangers are about to enter an entirely new chapter. There's been a lot of speculation about who exactly was holding the keys to make this deal happen. Some reports mention former director Sandy Easdale having a crucial say with his stake, sitting at around 2.25%, seen as potentially decisive. But we're now hearing that his shares won't be needed after all. In fact, suggestions that the takeover has hit any sort of snag are just plain wrong. Everything is moving towards a smooth completion, and confidence behind the scenes is growing with each passing day. Sources close to the deal have revealed that ever since October, the goal has been clear: get enough shareholders on board to push past that all-important 51% threshold. And now, after a new funding issue, that target's been hit. Well, the only thing left are the legal formalities and regulatory green lights before we see the full handover of power. Let's talk about who's steering this ship. Parag Marathe, the chairman of Leeds United, is one of the main figures involved in this operation. And while Leeds are in the middle of their own campaign trying to climb back into the Premier League, that effort has no bearing on the Rangers deal. The two projects are running independently, and what happens with Leeds won't affect the plans at Ibrox. This is a strategic investment, and the American group is Allen, former chairman Dave King, a man who's been at the heart of Rangers for over 2 decades, will also be stepping away. He's selling his major stake, bringing to an end his 25-year association with the club as board member, director, and chairman. This is a massive moment, and he's calling it his parting gift to the supporters, saying he wanted to leave the club in the hands of people who met his standards, who could take the club forward with the right backing, both financially and structurally. King has made it clear that with his time done, it was vital to find investors who understood the responsibility of owning a club like Rangers. In his own words, given that the club had made it clear I had no further role to play, I thought it would be a fitting legacy if I sought out potential investors that met my criteria and who could buy out some of the existing shareholders, such as myself, and then inject new funds to become a new anchor shareholder. That's exactly what he's done with Kavanagh and the 49ers group. And it wasn't easy. As he explained, finding someone like that within Scotland was nearly impossible, which is why he was drawn into the mix all those years ago in the first place. Kavanagh himself has already been a regular at Ibrox in recent months, keeping close tabs on the team and the fans. He was in the stands for the first leg of that dramatic Europa League quarterfinal against Athletic Club, and he returned just last week to watch the return leg in Bilbao, the same one that ended Barry Ferguson's dreams of a European final this season. He wasn't alone either. The 49ers technical director Gita Steinson was with him, showing just how serious they are about being hands-on from the very start. As for the immediate future, Ferguson will remain in charge for the final 5 matches of the Scottish Premiership. season. But make no mistake, the Americans are already lining up their long-term managerial plans. A new head coach will be appointed in the summer, along with a sporting director who will take charge of reshaping the club's structure and strategy. The winds of change are blowing hard at Ibrox. Ferguson himself addressed the media after that painful defeat in Spain, saying he wants to finish the season as strong as possible, both for himself and for the players. I've not sat down and spoken about it yet, he admitted, but it needs to get sorted soon because as a club, we obviously need to do a lot of work. It's getting late in the season and the club needs to get back to challenging. It's been a good European run, but sadly it ended tonight. Domestically, we need to be in the hunt for trophies. He's given the squad a couple of days off to clear their heads, but come Monday, he's back in the trenches with them ready to face the last 5 games head on. Meanwhile, fans will have a chance to hear more straight from the top this Wednesday, when Chief Executive Patrick Stewart, not that one, is set to speak at a fan forum event. Expect some serious questions to be asked and hopefully some real answers about where this club is heading. As the dust starts to settle on the European disappointment, what's becoming clearer by the day is that Rangers are standing at the edge of a real transformation. Not just on the pitch, but in the way the club operates from top to bottom. The kind of change that doesn't just tweak things around the edges, but rips out the old playbook entirely and brings in a whole new approach. That's the energy Kavanagh and the 49ers are bringing to the table. And from the information leaking out behind the scenes, this isn't just another vanity project. It's methodical, it's serious, and it's funded. John Bennett, another key shareholder who's been part of the recent leadership group, is also stepping aside, selling his stake to further boost the Americans' foothold in the club. Between the pieces already in their hands and the shares being picked up through smaller agreements with other investors, the consortium is on track to own just over half of RFC PLA. That's the threshold that allows for control, and once that control is official, things are expected to move quickly. There's also word of a future rights issue being planned, another avenue to increase their influence even further and potentially bring in new capital. That could mean serious investment not only in the squad, but also in the infrastructure around the club. Training ground improvements, youth development, backroom additions. All of it's now on the table. From what we understand, the new regime doesn't want to waste time. Once those legal and regulatory hurdles are cleared, we could see changes happening almost overnight. The idea is to build something sustainable, something long-term, not just chase quick wins. But let's not kid ourselves, this is Rangers, where I'm talking about success on the pitch is still the top priority. They want silverware. They want European nights that end in celebration, not heartbreak. Back to Dave King for a moment, because love him or hate him, you can't deny the impact he's had over the years. He's seen it all from the boardroom battles of the past to the rebuilding efforts that got the club back on its feet after the darkest days. He was one of the main figures, alongside John Gilligan and Paul Murray, who led the charge to push out the likes of the Easdale brothers and the Mike Ashley contingent. That whole saga changed the trajectory of the club, and now a decade later, he's closing the book with a move he believes secures Rangers' future. As he put it back, in February, this deal with Kavanagh and the 49ers is his final contribution, a passing of the torch to a new generation of leadership. But not just any leadership, one with deep pockets global vision and the kind of strategic planning that could genuinely elevate Rangers to the next level, not just in Scotland, but across Europe. His comments made it clear he wasn't just looking for someone with cash. He wanted owners who understood the magnitude of the club, the culture, the expectations, and who could connect with supporters, not just investors. That's a tall order, especially for outsiders. But according to King, that's exactly why the process took so long, and it's why he believes they found the right people now. In recent months, the presence of Kavanagh and his team around Ibrox hasn't gone unnoticed. They've been in the director's box, walking the halls, speaking with club officials, observing everything, not just watching games. It's a sign of intent. This isn't a distant ownership group phoning in decisions from another continent. They're here, boots on the ground, trying to understand the fabric of the club before they start tearing anything up. And that in itself has reassured some of the more skeptical voices in the fan base. Now, let's not pretend it's all smooth sailing from here. Anytime you get a shift of this magnitude, there's going to be turbulence. People will question motives. They'll worry about identity being lost. But there's also a growing sense of cautious optimism. The idea that maybe, just maybe, Rangers could finally be positioned to stop merely reacting and start building strategically, intentionally, with clear goals. And that brings us to the football side of things again. Ferguson, despite the loss in Spain, has conducted himself with professionalism and dignity. But the writing's on the wall. Everyone knows a new manager will be appointed. The only questions now are when and who. That decision could define the early months of this new chapter. Get it right, and you hit the ground running. Get it wrong, and you've already got a mess to clean up before the ink on the ownership papers is even dry. He's been clear that as far as he's concerned, he's going to give his all for the remainder of the season. He wants to close things out with pride. I've given the lads a couple days off to reflect, but I'll be back in Monday ready to hit the last 5 games head, and he said, there's still work to be done in the league, and pride on the line. For Ferguson, who's worn the badge as player and manager, this isn't just business, it's personal. At the same time, those last 5 matches are going to be watched with more intensity than usual. Not because of the title race, but because every performance is now being evaluated through the lens of transition. Who's fighting for a place in next season's squad? Who's playing like their contract depends on it? Because let's be honest, big changes are coming and no one's place is guaranteed. And then there's the supporters, the heartbeat of the club. This whole process, the negotiations, the uncertainty, the silence from the board at times has tested patience. But now that the end is in sight, fans are demanding clarity. That's why Wednesday's forum with Chief Executive Patrick Stewart is going to be so important. This is his chance to speak directly to the people who fill the stands, who travel to away days, who live and breathe Rangers. They want answers. They want vision. And they want to know that this isn't just another chapter. It's the start of something better. There's a lot still to be revealed. Who will be the new manager? What style of football are they going to bring? How much backing will they get in the summer? Will the club maintain its identity in the midst of change or shift toward a more global corporate model? What's clear is that the spotlight is now fixed firmly on Ibrox. The rest of Scottish football is watching, Europe is watching, and the fans, above all, are watching. After years of rebuilding false dawns and hard-earned progress, the next steps will define the future of Rangers for a generation. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Former Rangers striker Duncan Ferguson has finally broken his silence regarding long-standing rumors of abuse of power during his time at Ibrox. In an unexpected and emotionally charged interview with a local Scottish outlet, Ferguson addressed the speculation that has hovered over his early playing career, particularly his spell with Rangers in the early 1990s. Ferguson, known for his aggressive playing style and no-nonsense attitude both on and off the pitch, admitted that his time at Rangers wasn't without its flaws, but strongly denied any claims of misconduct or abuse of authority. I was young, passionate, and desperate to prove myself, but I never used my position to intimidate or mistreat anyone, he said, visibly frustrated by what he called damaging and unfair accusations. The former Everton and Newcastle striker acknowledged that the dressing room culture back then was far different from today, often ruled by hierarchy and intensity. Still, he insists that his actions never crossed the line. Football was rough, especially in the early 90s in Scotland. There was shouting, there was pressure, and yeah, sometimes we lost our tempers. But there's a big difference between being fiery and abusing power. Ferguson explained, the rumors which have circulated in fan forums and whispers among former professionals for years suggest that Ferguson may have exerted undue influence over younger players and staff during his brief time with the Glasgow Giants. Ferguson, now 53, says the gossip has followed him for too long and that it's time to set the record straight. I've stayed quiet out of respect for the club and my teammates, but silence can be dangerous. It lets lies grow legs, he said. Rangers have not issued an official response to Ferguson's statements, but sources close to the club indicated there's no ongoing investigation and no complaints were ever formally made during Ferguson's tenure. The big striker left the club in 1994 before becoming a cult hero in English football. particularly with Everton, where he enjoyed his most iconic moments in the twilight of his career. And now stepping into management roles, Ferguson appears intent on reshaping the narrative. I've made mistakes like anyone, but I've always played with my heart. If people can't see that, that's their problem. I know the truth. His words will undoubtedly reignite debate among supporters and critics alike. But for Ferguson, this was less about clearing his name and more about reclaiming control of his story. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.